Hickok 45 here. Welcome to the Hickok 45 Talks channel. Someone asked me to talk about my pets, what my favorite pets were, and what all kinds of pets I've had. Well, I'm going to go in there and see if I can get Boo Boo out here and give you a look at the last pet, the most recent, the only pet I have now, okay? And hopefully she'll cooperate and let me carry her out here and get you a quick look at her. She's a scaredy cat. And then we'll go from there. How's that? Yeah, this is Boo Boo. I don't know how long I'll be able to have her here, but this is Boo Boo. She's a little scaredy cat. Isn't she cute? This is the only pet I have right now. Had for 12 years. Yeah, I'll splice this into the video because she's not good for being held for very long. I picked her up off the couch. She was sleeping where she sleeps all the time. She's a sweet old girl, aren't you, Boo Boo? She's a sweet old girl, aren't you? She's my buddy. Only buddy I have now on 4 legs, aren't you? So who you talking to, Dad? Who you talking to? She's a sweet old girl. I spoil her to death. Yeah, especially after Slamfire departed. She gets all the attention. She deserves it though, don't you? Okay, big girl. You can stay out here a little bit if you want to. So I'll just go on with pets. Y'all have asked me about, where's my coffee? Well, I'll get it next. I've had a lot of pets in my life, as many of you had. Am I sitting crooked here? I'm sorry. I'll straighten it up later. I'll lean with it if it is. But all of us, almost all of us, I really feel sorry for you if you've not had a pet on 4 legs. And I guess if you're really young, maybe you live in an urban area, your parents have discouraged pets. It's difficult because of where you live. I understand that too, but hey, if you're 30, 40, 50 years old and you've never had a doggy, puppy, or a kitten, a cat, or a mountain lion or something, you're really missing out. Well, Boo Boo's gonna creep back into the house. There you go. But as most kids, we lived in a neighborhood when I was up to 10 years old, and we had the dog I remember was Tippy, a small dog, mixed breed, I guess, but it was my big buddy, and I remember Tippy died. It was really traumatic, the first pet loss, and that was in Erlanger, Kentucky. I remember asking my parents, is Tippy going to be in heaven, when I get there? I remember asking, because I used to, I'm going to address that. That might be a little better. But, that just occurred to me. I'd like to get into all that. But I remember asking, because my parents were Southern Baptists, and I was raised a Southern Baptist, and kind of fell away from it. But I was in Sunday school a lot of my early life, which is something probably a lot of you can't relate to. But I remember asking my Sunday school teacher, I was 6, 8, 7, I don't remember what age I was when Tippy died, but asking if Tippy would be in heaven, and the reason it really sticks in my mind was they said, no, dogs don't go to heaven or something like that, and I thought, wow. That really made it worse, and I don't think Sunday school teachers, preachers, or very, very religious people tell little kids that anymore. How dumb is that? Lie to them, whatever. Well, lie like you really know anyway. But anyway, I remember being crushed by that thought. I'll never see little Tippy again. And then we got another dog that was after we moved out to the country when I was 10. And Brownie was one of the key dogs in my life because I was a little older, 10, 11, and run around the farm with old Brownie and Spot. We had a Dalmatian called Spot. How original is that name? Brownie was brown, part Basset, part Beagle, and Brownie especially was a big part of our lives through those years of being out there on the farm and moving back to the city even and back out. I mean, he was just with us a long time. In fact, I was, yeah, a freshman in college when he got hit by a car and died. And so that was a lot of years. Back then there were no real leash laws. Everybody loved Brownie around the neighborhood, and that kind of thing. And so I remember coming back I flew back, of all things. I think that was the first time I had flown, freshman in college. I was at Western Carolina University and came home for Thanksgiving. I had to fly home. We were involved in basketball. If I was going to come home, I had to come home. It was just a kind of a quick trip for a couple of days. And my cousin, my best friend cousin, picked me up at the airport. And I remember he brought me back to the house, and he was going to come in the house too. It was kind of late. And Cincinnati Airport from there and everything, in Florence, Kentucky. And we walked around back to the house. We always went in the back door. And there was Brownie's big dog house there, you know, and I said to him, I said, well, Brownie must really be sleepy. What's up? You know, he's not even coming out to see me, you know, but I had stuff I was carrying. He'd get in the house, and as soon as my mom opened the door, though, she said, Brownie's dead. She let me know. Real tactful. But anyway, that was even at that age, a kind of a crushing, you know, experience. And I know you're all deeply interested in this, but we all have pets. We can all relate right to that, right? After that, I was away at school, of course, and when I got out of college, started teaching in Franklin, Tennessee at Battleground Academy. Lived in, as I've talked about briefly somewhere in the Model 29 50th anniversary video, I think. Lived at Laurelwood Apartments, now it's Laurelwood Condos or something. And there was this dog hanging around there. I was married at the time, and beautiful dog. You just sort of show up and, you know, watch the kids out playing in the commons area and just sitting there, and it's all of its majestic. It was just a beautiful dog, like a lion or something. And I didn't know what it was. And it was a golden retriever. This was before golden retrievers were popular, before anybody knew what they were. You know, nobody knew what kind of dog that was. And but it would keep coming back and hanging around there. I think maybe it didn't have a collar. And I sort of ran it down, got to asking people, you know, who they belonged to and all that kind of thing. We were, I think, in the process at that time of building a house. We're going to be moving out of there, building a house, our first house at Franklin, not too far from there. And we could have handled the dog, you know, and maybe if it was a stray or whatever. I finally found out who it belonged to down the road a little bit and went and talked to them, asked if they'd be interested in giving it away or something or selling. And it had belonged to their son, and he was off to school or he moved away or something like that. They just weren't taking good care of it, or it wasn't hanging around. And so they gave that dog to us. His name was Camelot, I think. He was a registered golden retriever. And we changed his name to Prince, I think. And, well, we did. But I think its original name was Camelot. It was from us family. All the Goldens in that line were named some royalty, you know, ironically, because it looked royal. And so I had that dog. That was just a beautiful dog. That's where I was introduced to golden retrievers. Didn't know about them. Most people didn't at that time. This was, again, 74, 75, you know, before they were in all the commercials and everybody had them. And just beautiful dog, great disposition. Had him, I don't know, a year or something like that. Came home and he was running around the yard, happy to see me. Came home from teaching and he fell down, couldn't get up, and he had his diaphragm had given way or some kind of weird thing. Took him to the vet and he died. Okay. Got another little puppy, a golden retriever. Yeah, I was hooked on Goldens by then, and that would have been, I don't know, 76 or something, I don't know. Moved into that house in 75, so it was about a year later, probably 76 or so, and went looking for puppies and golden retrievers. Found one, cute little golden, and had him, named him King, kind of kept that name, royalty, alive, and had him for a long time, what seemed like a long time. So through the 70s, the rest of the 70s, living there, and I built a fence kind of around the yard, like a horse fence, wooden fence. Looked nice in the neighborhood, matched the house. It was a Cape Cod style house, and he was a good old dog. And in the 80s, I started traveling, left teaching, went into publishing, and I was gone during the week, for days at a time and everything. But he did okay. I left food out for him. My neighbor would check on him, and had him when I moved out here in '86, January '86. So he lived here with me for a good while. So he spanned quite a lot of a time frame there. It wasn't all that long, I guess. It was around 76 to 86 or 7. Yeah, big 10 years. Moving, changing houses, divorce, all that kind of thing. And he was my buddy golden retriever for a long time there. And he quick aside, he got a little weird. Golden retrievers are famous for being good with anybody and do anything to them almost. Apparently, I don't know if someone abused him when I was gone, traveling, threw rocks at him, or if he just had an issue with, I know they have hip issues, Goldens do develop, or I don't know, but he got to where when he was lying down, if you walked up to him like you were going to pet him before he got up, here's Boo Boo coming back out the door. Hi, Boo Boo. You come back over and see the people. You're a cute kitty. But he would growl, and he would snap at it like he was going to eat you alive. How's that for a golden retriever? Doesn't exactly sound like a golden, does it? So he had problems. I don't know, his health. I mean, he seemed fine. Once he got up, he was typical golden retriever. Just typical. You'd go over and roughhouse with him, jump up on your lap, whatever. But if he was lying down on his own over there on the porch or anywhere, back of the truck, you did not approach him. I had to warn people about that because everybody knows golden retrievers are like, they're do anything, like big old stuffed bears. You can do anything with them, and they love everybody and all that. And he was that way, unless he was lying down. And I had to warn youngsters around if he was out and around, and adults, and remind myself. But I got used to it. I just knew you didn't walk up on him. You stopped, and if he were lying right there, I would have said, "Come here, King. Come here, buddy. How you doing?" Whatever treat him. He'd get up slowly, and then he's fine. So that was probably a good lesson for me because I learned to handle animals. Like I think it was a good lesson for me that I have later used in handling cats. You know how cats are. They don't do anything that they don't want to do. You can't train them. You can't make them do anything. I mean, they're great pets. Aren't you, Boo Boo? She's creeping around the porch here. She's a scaredy cat. And so he was like a cat, kind of like a cat, really. You had to respect, the distance and his issues. You could, you really could have gotten bitten. Even me, it was just weird. It was very weird, but it was very definable. It wasn't like having an animal that you couldn't trust that might attack somebody or go bite somebody because it didn't like their looks. It wasn't anything like that, like having just an aggressive dog. It was strictly when he was lying down, you didn't want to walk up on him and reach out to pet him or anything. I don't know what it was. But anyway, out here, he died. In fact, he was having health issues, and I was on the road working with, but I was on the road. I remember the show and kind of thing, and he died. And so he's buried out in the side yard here with a big rock as a stone. And then, so when John was born, we just had I can't even remember them all. We've had 5 or 6 different Goldens, male and female. I rember them, Bud and Ginger especially, but we went through a little interim period where we got rescue Goldens. We'd look in the paper and see someone had one they needed to give away because they were moving to the city or whatever it was and looking for a good home. And so we had several, 1 or 2 of those, one of them just died from something he caught. I don't know, one got hit by a car out here, and different things like that. But we had Goldens for a long, long time, and then Bud and Ginger were the last two of that line, and that John grew up with pretty much. And they're buried, over there. We got markers on their graves and everything over there close to the campsite. And and then let's see, I didn't have any dogs for a while, and I guess John and my wife talked me into getting a puppy. So we got a puppy, and that was Gunner. Many of you saw Gunner. I don't know what year that was. That was about the time we were adding on the house, about 12 years ago or something like that. You all saw, he was in videos, Gunner was. And crazy, frisky, golden, wow. And he got hit by a car, like about 1 year old. I'd go out there and get him off the road and go in the backyard and bury him. Yeah, and at that point, that was again about 12 years ago, 13. I just, okay, unless I build a fence, and the way my property is arranged in the driveways and all that kind of thing, it'd just be a major ordeal figuring out how to do that to where you could come in and out the cars easily and all that kind of thing. And I just put that off, and I don't know. I mean, we had a kind of a big pen for Ginger and Bud for a while in the back, but I hate to keep them in that. You're 40 acres, you get your dogs penned up all the time. It's kind of weird. So I just, maybe that's enough dogs. I about 13 years ago. Y'all remember that. They've been following the channel, maybe. And I did that, but it wasn't all that long after Gunner died that the Boo Boo here, she wasn't named Boo Boo originally, but I was somewhere gone, and she heard a cat down there in the trees in the woods crying. She went down there, and there little Boo Boo was, about that big, maybe a week or two old, I don't know. It's full of burrs and briars and all that, and no other cats around. So she was just on her own. She'd have probably died that night from the coyotes. That's probably what happened to her brothers and sisters, if she had any. Who knows where she came from. So she got her some milk, my wife did, and brought her up here, cleaned her up, and she was cute, even as a little kitten. And so then she was the cat. There she is again. Hey, Boo Boo, won't you come up here and see the people again? Huh? What's the matter? Are you not trained? Come on up here. She's just standing in the doorway looking out. I have the door open. What a baby. And so she was an outside cat, and for, I don't know, about a year. She'd run around here just like a normal cat. We had cats dropped off many times, so I was used to cats being around, and we'd leave food out for them. She was a little different because we kind of took care of her, and then she was so cute. And we got her shots and all that, and we got her fixed when it was time to do that. But she got to climbing the trees. All in 1 week it seemed to happen. I think the coyotes were chasing her up a tree or something at night, and we'd find her way up in a tree in the morning. Couldn't get her out. I'd get a ladder out, and it was an ordeal. And it happened 2 or 3 nights, and one morning came out. She was way up in this tree down here, right by the range, and I got the ladder out again, and she wouldn't come down for me, and I couldn't get up that high, and she started climbing out on a limb, small limb, really weak limb, and kept going further and further. And I said, oh no, she was like 20, 25 feet up over the driveway, and I couldn't get her to come back. I called her, and I came down. Of course, I didn't want to push her out there. Well, she just jumped off that limb down onto the driveway. I couldn't believe it. Landed on her feet, of course, and she seemed okay. But she had, she started limping though soon after that, and she had a cracked bone in her leg. So we took her to the vet, got that all repaired, everything, and we're keeping her inside to get over that, to heal from that, and weren't sure what we were going to do because something was, she apparently could climb up a tree but couldn't climb down. I don't know. I always thought that was such a myth and crazy, and you'd never catch me trying to get a cat out of a tree. But there I was with her. And so she, long story short, became an inside cat, just to keep her alive, I guess, because she's really a gentle soul and kind of a baby, and I think she just wouldn't have survived out. I'm not sure why it took that many months for that to start happening, but it did. Maybe the coyotes discovered her or something. groundhogs, possums. I don't know what it was. It was after she ended up high up in trees. So she's the indoor cat. Now she does come out on the porch and maybe in the yard. I mean, if we're around, but we keep her inside. She really doesn't seem to want to be out much. Like now, she could be out here on the porch. I'll get the door open and she's in the house. So that's basically my history with pets. I know you were desperate to know all that, except for Slamfire. Yeah, Slamfire came along about a year after Boo Boo, and we call her Boo Boo because of the bone break and all that. But he, a year, maybe two, he just showed up on a tree out here. I've got a picture of him on the tree, cute little guy, you know. And John and I had been doing videos that day, and there, I think we were finished, and there he was on the side of that big tree there by the basketball goal. And so same kind of deal. Gave him a little food. He was a cute guy, and he was, you know, just going to be an outdoor cat anyway if we kept him. And so he hung around. He was just the friendliest guy. He'd climb around. I remember my wife sitting out there reading the newspaper back when we'd get the actual newspaper. And he would be climbing around her shoulders and around. He was just so friendly from the very beginning. Totally unlike this gal. And he always was friendly. In fact, I'd call him Mr. Friendly. It was one of his names. I had lots of names for him. Big-eyed cat and Mr. Friendly and Slamfire and everything. And so he was a great pet, kind of like a dog, really. Wasn't your typical cat at all. You all seen him, you know, in the videos, everything lying on the shooting table. And he was just with me everywhere. You know, he'd go out, he'd be in the barn if I'm reloading ammo, and get up on a stool, and, you know, curl up and watch me. And I mean, he was just a real people-oriented cat, part Maine Coon, and wonderful pet. So then we'd let him in sometimes, and he did fine, even though he was a little more active than Boo Boo. He wouldn't get up on the refrigerator and stuff very much. A couple of times he would get up and climb around, but not much at all. So he didn't destroy things. And so he became inside, outside, wherever he wanted to be. Basement, in the house, outside. It was kind of up to him. We'd usually let him come in at night, you know, just, again, keep him alive, maybe. And but he was a tough boy. I don't know the coyote could have gotten him or not, just because he was out overnight lots of times. In fact, he was outside totally for 2 or 3 years before we let him in. But anyway, you know, Slamfire, and that's kind of where we are now. Poor old Slamfire, you know, died the day after the presidential election last fall, just suddenly, you know. And I've talked about that. I still miss him a big deal. I mean, I really miss that guy because he was around all the time, and he was such a great pet. And that's where I am. That catches me up. And that's kind of my history with pets. I probably left out a few. But I never have been big on turtle pets or things like that. Just I've always liked dogs. And I didn't know I liked cats. I didn't know cats could be a great pet. And it's probably perplexing to some people who just had dogs their whole lives. They've seen cats, been around cats, they know some cats, whatever, and they just don't find them appealing at all. And I understand that, because I was kind of that way. I never was a cat hater. But, you know, they wouldn't come around when you wanted them to. You're in somebody's house, they'd come, well, you're kitty. You ever see me, you're trying to be nice to the cat, and they just look at you and walk away, or whatever it is. And that's the reason, you know, I mean, typically, stereotyping us men, we prefer dogs. You know, they react and respond and they're friendly and all that kind of thing. And so, but it takes getting to know a cat or two. That's what it is. And having a cat in the house that gets to know you, and it just makes a world of difference. Then they become, now they're still cats, can't hurt them, herd, H-E-R-D, but they can be a great pet. There's something really special about them. And most men, they don't get to that point to discover that. That's my take on it. It really is. You read about these people, famous people like Ernest Hemingway and Mark Twain are famous for loving cats. I mean, and having lots of cats and writing about it. How they wouldn't trust anybody who didn't like cats, and leaving money for them to be taken care of, you know, after they've died, all this kind of thing. And he's like, oh, wow, those guys are pretty smart. What was wrong with them? They must have had some weird chromosome or something that liked cats. Well, you sort of need to have a positive cat experience one time. Have a cat that is fun, and you get to know it, and they really are great pets. They really now not every cat. I have known a couple that not that I've had really, but I'm not sure you could really grow fond of that particular cat, based on its history or whatever. But anyway, not too long on this one. So I will talk to you all later. Go buy yourself a cat. Meanwhile, I will find Boo Boo. Is that you down? Yeah, there's Boo Boo. No, that's not Boo Boo. That's a bag of charcoal. She's back in the house. There she is. She's on the couch sleeping again. But anyway, she's a great pet, and that's Boo Boo. That's the only four-legged friend I have right now. I've thought about, I really want to get another cat like Slamfire. Probably a pure Maine Coon. That's what I'd like. I've studied them a little bit, and I think I would just love a Maine Coon. It's just, it makes it a lot easier not having two cats and one that's in and out of the house, all that kind of thing. Like traveling a little bit. It is a whole lot easier traveling just having Boo Boo, because she just can have the run of the house and that kind of thing when we're gone, and leave out the food and everything. With Slamfire, it was a little bigger ordeal. It really disrupted his life if he couldn't come in at night and back and forth when he wanted to and all that. It was really a big deal to be gone very long with him. So I got to think through that, but it's going to happen. If I get to where I'm just not going to travel much. I've had enough travel, whatever. I'm going to get me about 2 or 3 big, beautiful Maine Coons, and I'll just wear y'all out with them. I'll have them here on the swing with me and be hugging them, and just, you cat haters will just hate me too. All right, I'm sorry for being so long. Life is good.